Hi, I'm Chris Marshall, field editor of Woodworkers Journal magazine, and this is our shaker-inspired dresser, which is appearing in our May-June 2011 print issue of Woodworkers Journal. Well, it's often the case in our print magazine that we don't get a chance to tell you everything we'd like to tell you about a project. And so I'd like to take a few minutes here to talk with you about how I hung the drawers in this project in case you'd like to build a dresser like this for your home. Now, if you look closely on this project, the drawers on the dresser are inset style. There's no lip around the edges of the drawers, which creates a very tight reveal that goes all the way around. And I was very concerned about wanting to maintain that reveal. The drawers are also large, as they are in any dresser. And while I could have hung these drawers using traditional wooden slides, I found that those don't actually work very well. You load these drawers full of clothes, all of a sudden they're heavy, they can rack when you're pulling the drawer in and out, and if you pull it out too far, it falls on the floor. So the better solution here was to use some ball-bearing metal slides. But the challenge with an inset drawer is you can't mount the slides on the side like you ordinarily would. There's no place to hide that hardware. So the answer here was to go with an undermount style slide. And I used Accuride's 1029 series UnderMount Slides. I used a pair of them for each of the drawers. Now, as with other Accuride slides, these are ball-bearing style, and you can pull them apart. They've got a friction fit. And you have to mount them underneath the drawer bottom. So the way that I accomplished that was to actually move my drawer bottom further up inside the drawer box. Ordinarily, it's about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. But in this case, I actually inset these about 7/8 of an inch. The reason why I did that is I could mount my drawer hardware higher and then use shims underneath the drawer slide hardware to help me control that vertical placement of the drawers. So shims were really the answer, and I could maintain that exact precision that I wanted and vary the thickness of those slides as I needed to. So what I did was I cut some slide stock, or actually shim stock rather. It's just a little bit less than 3/8 of an inch, and I cut the pieces long enough so that I could use them like bridges. The dresser is built with a series of web frames. That's what supports each of these drawers. And my shim stock could go right across my web frames and work well that way. So I left them long, and that would also allow me to take my shims over to the joiner if I needed to reduce the thickness and still have long enough shim stock to plane those down safely. So I laid my shim stock in place, and then I took my drawer with the slide hardware installed only on the drawer, not inside the piece, both pieces of it clipped together, slid the drawer into place, and checked my reveals, top and bottom. Several of these drawers required me to take these shims down even thinner than they already are, down around 5/16 of an inch. And one of the drawers actually required me to add another thin shim on top of it because the drawer was slightly askew left to right. So the shims worked incredibly well for this purpose. Once I got the shims the thickness that I needed, I cut them into shorter pieces that would fit just the web frame stretchers, and I actually used super glue to hold the shim stock in place. It gave me a quick way to lock those shims where I wanted them so that I could mount the slide hardware inside of the case itself. And if I needed to pop them out for some reason, I could snap the super glue loose pretty easily and start over. Once the shims were in place, I mounted the hardware, the web frame side of the hardware in position, slid the drawer in, checked it for final fit, and then I can adjust the hardware left and right to get my left and right placement just where I wanted it as well. Accuride gives you some widened slots in the hardware to make that really easy. So that's actually how I installed the hardware in the dresser. It gave me nice ball-bearing slides to support that added weight. I had control left and right as well as horizontally, which is exactly what I wanted. And I think that it should make a nice durable way to mount these slides. So that's how we did it. That's a little bit more explanation for you, and hope you have some luck with your dresser as well. Enjoy your woodworking.